Welcome back to the Pain Game YouTube channel. I'm back with another one because today, Big John Fury has called out Call the Cobra Froch 2024. We're off to a good one.
How are we, my friend? All good?
I'm all good, my friend. Yeah, can't complain. Like anything else, I get from one day to the other. Now we're lucky, aren't we?
He's just the best. Do you know what I love, right? He's one of the most entertaining people in fighting. When he says can't complain, I've never seen a video where he hasn't complained. I guarantee there'll be a lot of complaints, but I love it.
So yeah, I'm okay today. Let's put it that way.
When we send Carl Pilkington around the world, it was very entertaining. We need to do that with Big John. Get a camera crew, I want to know what he thinks about everything. Like, fighting's the last thing I need from him now. I just need to see him in the pyramids, the Great Wall of China. Let's just send him out, see how he gets on.
Carl Froch come out and he's questioned the resume of Tyson Fury. I just want to read to you what he said and just see what you make of it. He said, obviously he's beaten Klitschko, but he said it was a bit of a stinker and he's had 3 fights with Wilder. How good was Deontay Wilder? He looked awful against Parker.
I think it's fair to question the validity of Fury's legacy right now more than ever. He's got a lot left to do to prove he's the number one.
That just tells me what kind of a man Carl Froch is. A friggin' shithouse.
We're starting at 100.
He knows better than that.
He says he knows better than that, but it's absolutely fair to question how good Deontay Wilder was after he looked that bad against Parker.
Deontay Wilder was shot to pieces. It's only because of the hiding Tyson gave him.
I mean, that is possible. To be fair to John, it is possible that Tyson Fury destroyed the version of Wilder, and now that's why Wilder can't perform to that level. But it's also possible, as Carl Froch suggested, that Wilder was never as good as we thought he was, and was one of the most protected champions in the history of boxing. Maybe they're both half right. Maybe Tyson did destroy how good he was, but he wasn't as good as people made out.
And how can he say that, Klitschko was a stinker when nobody else had beat him in 10 and 11 years?
Because the Klitschko fight was a bad fight to watch. It wasn't like Fury went in there and destroyed Klitschko and put a beating on him. He didn't. And it certainly wasn't a classic fight where you were like, you're going to go back and rewatch it because it's an absolute war. It wasn't.
They should not even be commenting on champions of the world. He's been a champion of the world, but I'll tell you what, he's not a champion of the world man, is he? He's a first-class shithouse, wants to kick up the arse. And I'll get it off me, them to come round me. Men meet before mountains.
Carl Froch was literally a champion of the world. There is nobody you could say is more qualified. I mean, you could argue, I guess, Floyd Mayweather could be more qualified than Carl Froch because he's won more, fights or whatever. But, he's a boxing Hall of Famer. World champion, Carl Froch. A great fighter. One of the best Britain's ever produced. So if he's not fit to give us analysis on Tyson Fury, then who the fuck is, quite honestly? Because you could say all this about me. You're just a fucking armchair spectator who's never been in there with the world champions. That's fine. Could absolutely say this about me. You can't say that about Carl Froch. To call Carl Froch a shithouse is like saying Alan Shearer knows nothing about scoring goals. What we doing here? Tiger Woods doesn't know how to putt. Lewis Hamilton doesn't know how to drive. It just doesn't make sense, this. And I do understand John is defensive of his son and he loves Tyson. And I really respect that, to be fair, right? But you can't let your heart rule your head. And threatening Carl Froch, saying you're going to give him an arse kicking just because he's gave some analysis, which is very fair about your son. Come on, mate.
When they talk shit like that, it gets under my skin just because they want a few more viewing figures to a station. He should kiss Tyson's boots, that bum.
Tyson Fury has had a great career and had some amazing nights. As much as, I say what I say about him. He's fucking had a great career. Carl Froch is not a bum compared to anyone. World champion who fought loads of champions and proved his point by the end of his career. To call him a bum is unbelievable.
People are only interested in current champions, men who's doing stuff today, who's getting in and fighting. No one wants to know about an has-been.
You know what? I actually don't think that's true at all. Mike Tyson is probably one of the most spoken about boxers consistently throughout the year. Even John, to an extent. John always gets attention. People are always interested in John. He had his day. It's been long gone, and yet he's one of the most talked about people. You could argue Carl is more relevant now than he's ever has been because he's actually a great pundit. He's given funny analysis. He's entertaining. I just don't think that this is fair.
And that's all these people are, has-beens. That's why when you see the Furies out of boxing, you'll never see us again. Because we don't hang around as has-beens.
I mean, Tyson's just in a Netflix documentary. Did he need to do that? It was nothing really related to him boxing. It's just about him and his life. So I have a feeling that Tyson will always be in the limelight, regardless of whether he's fighting or not. Because he's entertaining.
But these men are clinging on to a job because they can't let go because they're unfulfilled, aren't they?
Everyone has to provide for their family, Of course, Carl Froch made good money in his career, but it's very normal to be a sportsman, whatever sport you're in, and then after your career finishes, go and do punditry. Gary Neville, like loads of them do it. So to like have a go at him saying he's clinging on just because he's earning a decent living because he's an expert, I don't think that's fair either.
But even in my eyes, I don't even look at him anymore. He's a bum, isn't he?
Do you think
I'll tell him to his face, you're a bum, Carl Froch, and keep my son's name out your mouth because you ain't good enough to kiss his fucking ass.
Imagine being the interviewer dealing with this. To say he's not good enough to kiss his ass that's just mad. And he is mad. He's angry, right? It's emotional. He loves his son. I get it. But yeah, Carl Froch is good enough to say what he wants about Tyson Fury.
Do me a favour today. Don't keep mentioning these has-beens and these nondescripts around me because I don't want to talk about them because they get me vexed and want to tear their head off. So let's just keep it. Forget other people. Let's just talk about the main guys, Usyk and Tyson. They're the only two worth talking about. Forget them relics.
Relics? He's 60 years old calling Carl Froch his relic.
They're not men. They're not a bit that blow off a man. All they're good for is talking down a frigging camera. But up close, they'll kiss your feet and ask you for a picture.
Kiss your feet, that's for a picture.
So bog off the lot of you.
Bog off. No man alive can talk about my son.
He's been unbeaten for nearly 20 years. That's something they can only dream about. All these men have got a massive L on their back. And they can't live with it because it's like a big 10-ton boulder being on them.
I actually think what this really is actually more about, with him talking about them having an L on their back, is actually more about how, you know, the Furies feel about Tyson potentially losing his O. I think there's a real fear there, and that's probably why they've navigated as far away from, you know, those hardest fights as they have at times later on in his career. They want that Floyd Mayweather 0 to be able to say no man alive and all of that stuff, you know what I mean? And I actually think like letting that go will actually get Tyson Fury a lot more fans if he does take these hardest fights. That's where people will start to appreciate him a bit more. The criticism comes from avoiding them.
If you can't respect him, don't talk about him. If you don't like him, keep him off your channel. Because I'll bust you, no matter who you are.
It feels like you can only say nice things about Tyson Fury, and if not, then you're not allowed to speak about him. Which is fair, really. I want the same rule for me, by the way. Anyone who mentions me out there ever, it's always got to be nice. Which I'm quite lucky, because everyone's always nice about me, to be fair. That being said, let's see how Carl Froch responds.
He's called me a has-been. What's all this has-been business? That comes from somebody who's a never been. Have you ever been to call me a has-been?
Hard facts, that. Don't get me wrong, John was a fighter. We do respect everyone who gets in the ring. But the reality is, look at the fucking titles over Carl's fucking shoulder, for Christ's sakes. He won it all, mate. Everything in that background's exactly why he can say whatever the fuck he wants and have his opinion. Because he's been there and done it.
I don't need to discredit Tyson to make my CV or my career look any better. Tyson's got 4 wins over world champions. I've got 11 wins over world champions. And by the way, he didn't give Klitschko the rematch. That was supposed to be on the cards. That never happened.
That's a fucking big point for me. Giving Klitschko a rematch is something that should have definitely happened. Klitschko, undefeated for 10 years. The thing with a style like Fury had in that fight is that herky-jerky, awkward to figure out style. It takes a long time to figure it out, and you only get one go at it, unless you've got a rematch, in which case you can be a bit more prepared and potentially have more success. And as the fight went on towards the end, Klitschko, who wasn't really himself that night, and he was a bit bamboozled by Fury, but he started letting his hands go a little bit, and you're seeing him connecting a bit. We might have seen a totally different result in that second fight, but we'll never know. And I think Fury mentally was never wanting that rematch because he knew, I've showed my cards here, and it would be harder to achieve that same thing the second time round. Doesn't mean he wouldn't have done it. He could have done it. But with that style, it's always going to work best the first time you display it because people aren't sure how to handle it.
I'm in the Hall of Fame for a reason.
That alone is just like an atom bomb on the entire argument. You're saying I'm not fit to lace the boots of this guy. I've got more wins against world champions than he does. I'm in the Boxing Hall of Fame. It's not a question of whether or not I should have an opinion, because you can argue I've achieved more.
Kiss his fucking arse, he said. What am I going to kiss his arse for? And here lies the problem. Is it because I'm not kissing his arse that you're getting upset? Anybody that has any kind of constructive criticism against your son Tyson Fury gets shut down and switched off.
I'll go hung the phone up, actually.
You can't take criticism. For somebody who's so tough and hard, you're so thin-skinned.
I think the Furies, PR-wise, it's not going great. And I think part of they're now bringing it on themselves a bit by the way they're sort of just shutting down anyone who just doesn't agree with everything they say. I kind of got to give credit to AJ here. I feel like AJ took just as much criticism, just as much hate, whatever you want to call it, but he dealt with it in a better way. Yeah, he had that meltdown when he lost the Usyk fight, but aside from that, I think he's really shown himself to be a true champion and conducted himself with a lot of class. And it's hard. Like, I've been given shit online plenty of times sometimes. And I think sometimes holding your hands up and accepting it and taking it on the chin is a far better way of dealing with it than calling people haters and bums and nobodies when this guy's a Hall of Famer.
Get over it, Big John. You're on about kicking me up the arse when you see me. You won't be kicking anybody. You won't come near me. You'll probably come and shake me hand, and I hope you do, because I ain't got any beef with you.
I'm glad Carl said that, because like Carl's a genuine like world champion level fighter, and he's actually bigger than you'd think, right, when you meet him. He's a lot younger than John, and his peak was outrageously good, right? And he's kept himself in shape. And even now, I remember I had a chat with Eddie Hearn, like about like, you know, what fighter you've met is like the toughest fighter. And he said to me, like, if I'm ever in a bit of bother, the man I want standing next to me at a pub or whatever is called fucking Froch. The guy is as game as they come. He will never ever back down. To have a fight promoter who literally is surrounded by savages on a daily basis point you out as the biggest savage of all of them, that says a lot. I'm glad Carl's steering away from the idea of these two fighting, because I just don't think Big John should be putting himself in that kind of position. With all due respect, like, John's a tough man, no doubt, but this is called fucking Froch.
If you want to go down that road of threatening and being stupid and you're a big hard man, since you've been out the nick, you've not had a fight with anybody. Remember a guy called Mickey Theo?
Yeah, I remember this guy. Big John had been saying, I'm the toughest man over 50, I'll fight any man. This guy took the challenge up, and then the fight never happened. And more recently, I have just had a man on my podcast. It's coming out in the next 24 hours, hopefully. Big Joe Egan. This was a 7-time Irish national boxing champion. He was Mike Tyson's sparring partner and one of Mike Tyson's best friends. Mike Tyson called him the toughest white man alive. Now, when Mike Tyson calls you that, that's better than a world title, for Christ's sake. Big Joe Egan is calling out John Fury on my podcast, and misfits are willing to make the fight. Joe is a big man. He's the same age as John. Powerful guy. It would be a hell of a fight because they're both big, huge characters. And I think that if John wants a fight, there's options there. Realistic ones, because, you know, we shouldn't be putting Big John in there with Carl fucking Froch. Come on. And while I'm on Joe Egan, in terms of presence and being in the room with people, he's got the presence of a fucking Bond villain, this guy. He comes across like someone who could do some serious harm. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that podcast, by the way, because it's what a career, what a story he's got. So since then, Big John has responded to Carl Froch.
Okay, video to Carl the Snake Froch.
Cobra, but I think he's meaning, you know, it's a bit of an insult.
Plenty to say, mate, on your little podcast channel. You know, John Fury's rung the bell for you again, got you plenty of content, got you plenty of viewing figures, what you was after.
I love the idea that John Fury like looks down on Carl Froch as if Carl needs John for views and clicks, like as if Carl isn't like a name in his own right, even though Carl's like the fucking Hall of Famer.
Listen, your mate George Groves said something very interesting. You and me, Wembley Stadium, 93,000 crowd. I'm up for that, my friend. You know, and let's put it this way. You've had plenty to say. I have. I'll stand by every word I've said. You don't like me. Let's see what you can do about it. Hater versus top father.
I only seen a tiny bit of this. I didn't know he said that. You're a hater and I'm the top father. I feel like John views this really straightforward and he isn't really picking up on the points that Froch has made. He hasn't addressed any of them, to be fair. He's like, fuck it, let's fight.
That's what we'll call this. But it's got to make business sense.
Wow. Wow. He's a businessman, John. Like,
because it's a business, let's not forget that. So get your people to contact me directly, just me. I'm a one-man band. Let's talk about the business side of it, get the contracts drawn up, and I will fight you Wembley Stadium.
This is awkward, right? Because Carl Froch actually sold out Wembley Stadium in the prime of his career with a worthy opponent, with both guys fighting to get to the very top, right? It was built up, and people wanted to say it because it was the best versus the best. It was a great fight. Big John Fury hasn't sold a boxing ticket in his life. And I know he's got like social clout and people find him entertaining, and there would be people who'd be willing to watch John Fury fight. I'm not disputing that. But 93,000, even AJ in some of his recent fights took a while to sell out the O2. Do you know what I mean? Because it's hard selling fucking tickets. I don't think John really realizes like the reality of this situation. Like, for a start, you know, Carl shouldn't take this fight. I mean, Big John doesn't deserve to share the ring with him. It's funny because the way John talks about Carl, like putting him down as if he's some sort of bum, but if we're talking about accolades, you're the one who doesn't deserve to even be talking to Carl Froch here. Carl is the guy. I'm sure Carl wouldn't even think about sharing the ring with John. I mean, he's fucking 15 years younger than him, and he achieved more in his career than John could even dream of. It would be mental for this to ever happen. I don't know if John's just looking at this as a money maker, which, I mean, is fair. In the real world, there are some fights he could make on Misfits with, like, Joe Egan, who's same size, same, actually will turn up and want to fight him and share the ring with him because, potentially it's a fight that would garner interest and seems like a match worth making. But this isn't a match that you can make. What we're really talking about here is Carl Froch, former world champion, Hall of Fame boxer, against another boxer's dad. That's what this really is. Who had a few fights like fucking 40, 30 years ago, whatever it was. That's not something that people should make.
This year. Don't worry about that. John Fury will not back out of a fight with you, my friend. I know nobody else either on this planet. If it makes business sense.
Like, before it was like, I'm going to give him a good kick up the arse, and now it's, well, if the money's right, I'll kick him. You know what I mean? Like, which is it? I don't know why John wants a payday so bad, really. Like, he seems quite happy in his caravan. Does he need that much money? Like, his grandkids are set for life, let's be real. Like, what's the money about, really? Why do you care? But I think he's massively overestimating where he is in the pecking order, the value he brings to the table. There's only a certain level of interest that a 60-year-old boxer can garner, right? Like, you're not... Like, Rocky Balboa was a movie. Right? And like, this ain't that. Rocky Balboa was a world champion in the movie even.
I will fight you, Wembley Stadium. Get your people to contact me. Let's talk about the business side. Get the contracts drawn up. I'll sign. I mean, you'll be fighting.
If Big John really wants to make money, there are options out there. And he's like, well, it's got to be millions or whatever. And we've got to make Wembley Stadium sell out. It's like, yeah, but in the real world, bro, it's Misfits against another guy your size and age and experience, or it's not happening. But we'll see what happens. No doubt the Cobra, Carl Froch, will respond. Shout out to the Cobra. He's got his own YouTube channel. Go and check it out. He's a good laugh. We'll see what you make of it in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts are. What's your dream fight for Big John Fury? Because, he's called out Mike Tyson, Carl Froch. It's not happening, is it? Let's see what does happen. Leave the like on the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.